Near where I live in England, there's a village where there used to be a kind of old-fashioned church with a spire and a tower, but hundreds of years ago the landowner had that demolished or half demolished, and he built a sort of weird modern sort of Georgian church with lots of pillars, and it kind of looks a bit like an old Greek temple, and it's out in the fields and it's very, very creepy. And when I was a kid I used to go there at midnight and wander around looking to see if there were any ghosts, but there weren't, unfortunately. Well, probably fortunately. My strongest memory growing up, reading and writing. Wow, that's a good one. Well, I do remember making my first book, and I was talking about it at the store this morning. A very powerful feeling of triumph at actually having completed a book that worked, that had a beginning, middle, and end, and crucially had a cover. The cover was very significant. My dad stuck it on with glue, and we stuck it together overnight, and in the morning when I actually held it up, it was a proper book with a real cover, and that felt like I'd created something, and I think the echoes of that are still with me to this very day. I think of myself as a writer for everybody. Certainly a children's writer, absolutely, but it's a very broad church that I'm writing for. When I started writing the Bartimaeus series, I consciously felt that I was creating something that would have been perfect for me as a 12-year-old, but was also highly entertaining for me as a grizzled 30-year-old. And so I had this kind of dual objective. I guess I'm writing for myself always, the child I was and the adult I am now. When I wrote the Bartimaeus stories, I gave it to my mum to read, and when I'd finished she said, "Oh, you realise that he's very like you, isn't he?" And I thought she meant Bartimaeus, the wisecracking, charismatic genie, but in fact she was talking about Nathaniel, who's this rather sort of tight, prissy little boy. And indeed, when I'd been 12 years old, I was quite intense and quite serious. I used to get quite sort of stressed about life, and so I would come back and I would tell myself just to relax and enjoy life, because it's okay. I'd say don't get so het up about things. Chill, relax. I would say still try and chill out. You're still taking things too seriously. I would also say, I think, to my 20-year-old self, you are not yet grown up. I think as I got older, I realised that I didn't sort of fully know who I was until I was about 25. I think the idea of being an adult when you're 18 or 20 is a nonsense. It takes a long time for you to figure out who you are, what you're doing. So again, I would come back to myself and say, relax. You've still got a few years in which you can find out who you are. All over. So the question is, who is going to save the grown-ups from the ghosts? What? Someone said it down here. The children. Well, Ghostbusters, yes, Ghostbusters, but a particular kind of Ghostbuster. It's got to be the children, because the children are the only ones who can see it.